Relay, we're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. On March 25th, unbeaten up-and-comer in the women's featherweight division, United Kingdom's own Raven Chapman will be taking on Usyk Sedlackova
for what is the WBC International Featherweight Championship
at the Telford International Center on the undercard of Nathan Heaney versus Jack Flatley, Queensbury Promotions.
It's a Frank Warren show. Raven Chapman is a Frank Warren fighter.
Raven, who campaigns in the women's featherweight division, that's 126 pounds. That's where Amanda Serrano currently reigns as that division's undisputed champion. Amanda, who's en route to a Katie Taylor rematch.
Raven aspires to one day get Amanda in the ring, and this fight is a step in that direction. She's going to WBC route.
As part of this Frank Warren show, I'm not a big fan of Frank Warren shows, but I am a big fan of Raven Chapman.
She's good.
Who sports a professional record of 5 wins, no losses, and no draws with 2 knockouts.
Raven's only got a handful of fights, but she has the look of a more experienced fighter than she actually is. She's really well put together.
It's likely the reason they're matching her against the Czech Republic's own Usyk Sedlackova, who has a lot more pro fights and a lot more rounds in the bank than Raven does. But Raven's one of those fighters that you can see it right away.
She's got a high ceiling.
She's good. Just 5-0. You can see this is a champion in the making, even if she just has a handful of fights to Usyk Sedlackova.
Usyk sports a professional record of 15 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, 6 knockouts, having never been knocked out in 17 professional fights.
She's a solid fighter. She's experienced, and they're not matching Raven Chapman soft, believe you me.
Lucy's solid. Lucy can fight.
I saw some gripes this past weekend in reference to Caroline Dubois' last fight. Caroline Dubois' last opponent.
Caroline Dubois, who campaigns in the women's lightweight division.
She fights over there on Sky Sports. There were complaints that they're matching Caroline too soft. Yet given her amateur background, surely they can find her someone better to fight than the girls she's been fighting, because she's just running through those girls.
Pouncing on them.
Now myself, I wasn't as critical as some others. I understood the circumstances. The girl she was fighting was a late replacement. Better still, you can't raise those concerns or those complaints in reference to this fight that Raven is about to have.
You can't say that they're matching Raven Chapman soft.
Not opposite the ring, Usyk Sedlackova, who's got 3 times as many fights as Raven Chapman and that many more rounds in the bank. Usyk Sedlackova, who saw action 3 times in 2021, just once in 2022.
Back in May, she was in action opposite the ring journeywoman Milena Koleva, won a points decision over 6 rounds.
This fight with Raven, this is being billed as a 10-rounder.
Usyk Sedlackova, she has fought for 10 rounds at least 4 times, whereas Raven's
never fought in a 10-rounder before. This will be the first. Raven, who debuted as a professional in 2021, she fought 2 times that year, fought 3 times in 2022.
She was busy.
She was busy last year compared to Usyk Sedlackova. Lucy only fought once.
But Lucy has more rounds in the bank than Raven does, a lot more rounds in the bank, so that evens things out. What do I think about this fight?
What do I think about Lucy?
Lucy's a solid textbook boxer.
A solid orthodox fighter, shows the jab, keeps the right hand high to protect that side of her face while she shows the jab.
Good dimensions for the weight.
Good coordination, good movement, though her defense is a bit leaky.
She can be caught, punches a bit wide.
Her straight punches are alright, her jab's alright, but those sweeping hooks,
they can be countered. Mid-range to inside, she's vulnerable.
It's an area of weakness for Lucy, whereas for Raven, it's an area of strength. It just so happens that Raven Chapman, she's very good mid-range to inside. That just so happens to be her sweet spot.
Raven, who's a little bit more nuanced, she's got more subtleties.
Fighting at a slight crouch and angling off to the side as she closes the distance as to not get hit with any oncoming shots.
She's not as upright as Usyk Sedlackova.
Not as textbook, not as conventional as Usyk Sedlackova. No, Raven is more fidgety, more herky-jerky.
While closing the distance, she's definitely aggressive and she's definitely a mid-range to inside fighter. That much you can see, but she's a tricky target.
While she's barreling forward looking to crowd her opponent, it can look like she's standing right in front of you.
She's tricky.
Even when she is in the pocket with her opponent, she's angling off to the side, staying off the line,
Doubling and tripling up on the jab.
keeping the opponent moving, keeping the opponent guessing, working.
She can put a girl under a lot of pressure.
Raven's a body puncher, a spiteful one. Lucy Sedlackova is nowhere near as fluid or as capable mid-range to inside as Raven is. Raven is quite comfortable there.
To the eye, a lot faster than Lucy.
Rapid-fire combinations in the pocket, you will notice that Raven Chapman's punches are a lot shorter and a lot tighter than what you get from Lucy in the pocket.
She seems to land with more authority. Lucy Sedlackova may have more knockouts on paper than Raven, but I'd wager that Raven's the bigger puncher.
Faster, too. Better on the inside.
More defensible.
More fluid. This is what I mean when I say that Raven is more nuanced than Lucy Sedlackova. Lucy's more textbook, more upright.
I mean, she's a solid fighter. She's not bad.
I see a situation where Raven Chapman, she's going to stay in character. She's going to stay that aggressive customer. In all likelihood, Raven will be the aggressor and Lucy will be the defender. And Lucy won't be able to keep Raven Chapman out
of the pocket.
Raven's going to come crashing in. And because Lucy's not as fluid, as capable as Raven is in the pocket, in all likelihood, she's going to get overwhelmed. She'll get
flustered.
Outworked. This being billed as a 10-rounder, Raven Chapman will have plenty of time to pile up the points and pile on the damage.
So I like Raven Chapman to win.
Conservatively, I like Raven Chapman on points, though I'll go as far as saying that I don't rule out a knockout because she'll have more time.
She's going to have 10 rounds to bust this girl up.
More time to pile up points and pile on the damage. So a knockout could happen, though conservatively, I'm going with Raven Chapman to win. I'm going with Raven Chapman by way of a points decision. At minimum, I think she can outwork and fluster Lucy Sedlackova in late March. Keep your eyes peeled for that.
Again, the money, if the fight were to be held in Saudi Arabia, which is not going to be because they're not anxious to do that fight in the time period required. Forget, you got to put that aside because that money was really very big compared to what is realistic. The money from the real money from the fight, which will be the UK gate, the pay-per-view, the American pay-per-view, and the other revenue from foreign sales will be very, very big as a fight, you know what I mean? But it pales by comparison to the Saudi money. But the Saudi money is not realistic because Saudi Arabia is not available to do that fight in the time period that is required by the organization.
It's Bob Arum sticking to the original story that the main reason Fury versus Usyk ain't going down in Saudi is due to a scheduling issue, that the Saudis are unable to deliver on a deadline. They're unable to get the arena, the stadium, whatever it is, constructed on time to do that fight by the proposed deadline. That's what he's saying.
Do you believe that?
No, I don't, but that's the word. Myself, I have no reason to believe that the Saudis couldn't get things done on time. If anybody has the means and the resources to deliver on a deadline, they do.
They've done this before.
They did it for Joshua versus Ruiz too. They did it for Joshua versus Usyk too. So why am I supposed to believe that all of a sudden they can't deliver on a deadline when they have in the past?
The only difference between then and now is that instead of dealing with them, instead of dealing with Matchroom, they're dealing with you.
I don't believe the cover story. I don't.
Other revenue from foreign sales will be very, very big as a fight, you know what I mean? But it pales by comparison to the Saudi money. But the Saudi money is not realistic because Saudi Arabia is not available to do that fight in the time period that is required by the organizations.
That's what Bob is saying. The Saudis were unable to deliver on a deadline, and that's why they moved it from Saudi over to the UK, even though in Saudi it was worth a lot more money. Though that's not the only word on the matter. There seem to be some quotes floating around from none other than John Fury, Big John Fury, Tyson Fury's father. And he's citing a different reason than Bob.
Where Bob is saying it's a time constraint issue, Big John Fury is saying it's a money issue.
The Fury people aren't happy with the money. The quote reads, that's what the delay is with Tyson. They won't pay him what he's worth. They want him for nothing. They want to make the money, they want the lion's share, and to give Tyson the small end. But that ain't going to wash with us. It's Fury's way or the highway. We bow down to no one. We are the kings of the ring at the minute.
But it pales by comparison to the Saudi money.
This is conflicting because Bob Arum's saying the money in the UK pales in comparison to the money in Saudi.
He's saying there's more money for the fight in Saudi.
Whereas what Big John Fury is saying is that they're not offering Tyson Fury enough money.
And you know that Big John Fury, he's not the only one saying this. He's not the only one saying that Tyson Fury wanted more money.
Eddie Hearn just said that on IFL TV. Eddie Hearn just said, the fight's not happening in Saudi Arabia because Anthony Joshua's not in it. The fight's not big enough for the money Tyson Fury wants because it doesn't involve Anthony Joshua.
Fury versus Joshua commercially is a bigger fight than Fury versus Usyk because Anthony Joshua's got more fans than Alexander Usyk. It's just the truth.
That doesn't mean that he's a better fighter, but that does mean that he's worth more money. More fans, more corporate sponsorships, more domestic attention. Surely, you guys out there can understand that Fury versus Joshua in the UK is in many ways a bigger fight commercially than Fury versus Usyk.
Even though Usyk beat Anthony.
That domestic contingent, that domestic rivalry interests the Brits a bit more than seeing Fury fight Usyk, even though the Usyk fight is for undisputed.
But in a nutshell, both Big John Fury and Eddie Hearn, they are more or less saying the same thing. That this is about money, not time constraints.
John is saying they didn't offer Fury enough money, and Eddie's saying the same thing. They didn't offer him the kind of money that he was looking for.
Yeah, but Bob said the money in the UK pales in comparison to the money in Saudi. So what's the truth?
The truth is, the fight likely is still worth more money in Saudi than it is in the United Kingdom, but not enough money that Tyson Fury...
It's not enough for Tyson.
You know what I think? I think Tyson Fury wanted to make what Anthony Joshua made in Saudi. Hell, I'll go as far as saying I think he wanted to make in excess of what Anthony Joshua made in Saudi. And Anthony made a lot of money over there, but Anthony's worth a lot of money. More than Tyson.
There's a lot of people, they still don't want to believe that.
And that's fine.
Okay.
But for those of you out there who don't want to believe that, you tell me, what are Tyson Fury's corporate sponsorships? You know, Anthony Joshua's in bed with Range Rover and Hugo Boss, Beats by Dre.
Who are Tyson Fury's corporate sponsors?
Who are they? Aside from an energy drink that's said to taste like piss.
How do you know what piss tastes like?
I didn't say it tastes like piss. I never drank it.
I mean, aside from that energy drink that Tyson Fury's been hawking, what are his corporate sponsorships?
You may not want to believe this, but Tyson Fury isn't as well liked as people let on. And he's not worth the same money, at least not to the Saudis, that Anthony Joshua is.
I never thought this was a scheduling issue.
And I still don't. I think the Saudis offered Tyson Fury more money than he stands to make in the UK, but not so much that he's willing to have this fight in neutral territory, on even ground.
Not so much that he's willing to concede home field advantage.
He wants home field advantage. Every advantage, really, even though he already has every advantage. He's bigger than Alexander Usyk. He's taller, longer, heavier.
He's the house fighter.
He's with Frank Warren, not Usyk in the fight. The fight is happening in his neck of the woods, not Usyk's.
He wants every advantage. They likely did offer him more money in Saudi than he stands to make in the UK, but not enough that he's willing to concede home field advantage.
I think that's worth more to him. And the idea that he might be making less money to box the same guy that Joshua just boxed?
He doesn't like that.
Guy's got a big fucking ego. Along with having a big fucking mouth, he's got a big ego.
His ego can't take it.
The idea that they can box the same guy and Joshua will still make more money than him, even though he's a champion and Joshua isn't.
For boxing, I hope the undisputed fight gets made. All I said was, if it doesn't, we would be willing to make the AJ fight now. And it's a much bigger fight for Tyson Fury than the Usyk fight, financially, and I think for British boxing.
Do you know what? I wouldn't want to go down that road again. I mean, we wasted a lot of time, and, you know, I don't care. I know that you've got the haters out there, you've got the people who think, you know, who's telling the truth. We were telling the truth. And I think the one person who did tell the truth at the end was Frank Smith, when he said all along, he was never going to be ready for this. That's what I mean. You look at it, he never had a trainer or anything. So what on earth we were negotiating for to fight in December? It's just a waste of everybody's time.
Frank thinks Joshua versus Fury at this point is just a waste of time. Tyson Fury himself says the man's dead in my eyes.
Ends Anthony Joshua with a brutal insult, has no interest in fighting him.
So if history is any indicator of things to come, Tyson Fury won't stand on these comments any more than he stood on previous comments he's made in the past. He's one of the most wishy-washy guys that are out there.
He's saying this now.
I don't even want to go there anymore. Finished. No interest in any AJ questions. Zero. Man is dead in my eyes.
He's saying this now.
There is no business between me and him to be done. Finished. From 2017 to however long it's been, 2022, trying to make the fight, so it's not happening. Fury also doubled down on his outrageous hybrid offer to Francis Ngannou, insisting they meet in a cage rather than a boxing ring. My offer to Ngannou is on the table. Like I said, if Usyk don't fight, then I'll be looking to make the Ngannou fight, he added. I'm going to do a 2-fight deal in a boxing ring and in the cage. I've never asked him to fight in the boxing ring. I always said in the cage. The deal was the cage. 4-ounce gloves. Let's get it on. In a boxing ring, it would be a pointless contest. It'd be like me fighting someone at a local gym, a bodybuilding gym. But in a cage with 4-ounce gloves on, anything can happen.
They can make money with that fight.
Francis Ngannou, former UFC champion who is now a promotional free agent, free to do whatever he wants to do. And if he wants to do a fight with Fury, he can do that.
Fury wants to do a fight with him. Wilder does too. Same idea. 2-fight deal.
And they both would be just as out of place in the octagon as Francis Ngannou would be in the boxing ring. But that's what they're talking about.
What about Joshua?
Fury says he doesn't want to fight him. Fury says he's not interested. He's saying this now, but how many times now have we seen Tyson Fury go back on his word? If Anthony Joshua gets himself back in the winner's bracket, opposite the ring, Jermaine Franklin,
If he wins.
you don't think Tyson Fury's going to be watching? You don't think he's going to start up with the same old shtick? If he beats Usyk and AJ beats Franklin,
He's not going to start up again. That's what you think?
he will.
Yeah.
He always does.
Yeah.
The only thing consistent about Tyson Fury is how inconsistent he is. How many times he goes back on his own word. So if he's saying this now, he'll be saying something different later.
That he doesn't fight for money, that he fights for money.
You know the routine. Both Tyson and Frank, the dynamic duo, they can talk about how difficult it is to work with Eddie and AJ.
Yeah.
Frank is looking across the aisle just about as much as Eddie is. It was Frank Warren that stated he wants to do a fight between David Adelaide and Fabio Wardley. Fabio's with Matchroom. David's with Queensbury.
David was in action yesterday. Racked up another victory.
They're only saying this now because they have separate engagements. In a few weeks, in a few months' time, the tune they're singing could be very different. In fact, I'm banking on it.
That's how it's been.
But that's if Fury wins. If Fury loses, well, that changes
If
things.
he loses to Usyk,
That's assuming that the fight doesn't fall apart completely because you moved it.
there's a lot of moving parts at heavyweight.
There's a lot going on.